Hi everyone, how is that for a change? I'm certain I have 26 episodes of Hi All, and today I thought I would change it up a little and say hi everyone. Actually, today's whole episode is going to be a little bit different because the special guest I'm chatting to is Joanne Zaraliakos, the HSC manager of JFE Shoji Power in Ontario, Canada. Now, Joanne isn't just any HSC manager. She has experienced the heartbreak and heartache of losing a child to a workplace incident. But that isn't what you will hear about today. Instead today, she's going to be sharing the experiences and initiatives which are being implemented at JFE Shoji and telling us about the incredible support that she receives from the entire management team. For me, this episode is a breath of fresh air. So here it is.
Hello, Joanne. Thanks so much for spending time with me. I understand it's nice and early in the morning for you over there in Canada, so I'm obviously super appreciative that you may have swapped your morning coffee out for talking with me instead.
Thanks, Georgina. Great to be here.
Thank you. As you know, I have the 3 questions that I ask all of my guests, and I'm interested to hear your view on things, especially given your career and your life experience. So firstly, what do you think makes an effective organisation when it comes to health and safety?
I think having leaders that are empathetic, so they understand the human aspect, why people do what they do, and they want to bring them along to where they need them to be. I think that they need to have curious leaders who want to understand why something happens and learn the lessons and make sure that they have, they're not biased, they're not making assumptions, and they're less likely to blame if they're curious. I think they should be great listeners, so they should listen to understand, not listen to talk, so that they ask good questions to get the information they need. And I think they need to inspire others so that they can get them to where they are.
It's almost like a Christmas list for the perfect leader. I think you just read out that.
Who didn't?
Yep. So what would be your words of wisdom for people who don't want to change when it comes to health and safety?
I think that we need to make sure that we have a consistent message for those people that let them know that their actions or inactions could cause harm to somebody. There could be injuries. We could have potential hazards that are missed because they're not going to change. They need to understand their legal obligations at every level of the organization. Every person should understand what they're legally required to do. We're actually doing some experiential training to try and help with those people that don't want to change. We're going to do a 3-part series. They're going to attend a funeral. Then they're going to be put on a witness stand. And then we're going to, once we've cross-examined them so they can understand, with what they're currently doing, what would happen, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a training course, an experiential training course on an effective incident investigation. So that's our plan with trying to bring those people along. We want them to see real time and experience it, because we know that somebody who's experiences something or does something is going to remember that, and I want it to be impactful.
Sorry, did you say you're making them attend a funeral?
Yes, we're going to make them attend a funeral. So not a real funeral. It's going to be a mock funeral. They don't know that yet. I'm working on that right now. I'm actually working from home today to do that. So we're going to have a mock funeral. So they're coming like they're going to an interview. So they're going to walk into a funeral, and then we're actually going to read what happened to that person. From there, they're going to be put on a witness stand, and I actually have someone coming in to cross-examine them as if they were in a real trial. So they can see what their part or lack of attention or the fact that they don't necessarily have everything they need to protect themselves or the people that are working for them. They're going to come to that realization during this trial. And then once they finish the trial, I figure their eyes will be pretty open, and we're then going to put them through some experiential investigation training where we're going to show them how to ask the right questions. We're going to give them a person to ask questions to, and then we're going to give them some feedback on the questions they're asking. So we're going to guide them away from that blame the person and take them to the what systems broke down here. And then it's not that there's not a human aspect to it, but we need to make sure that they understand that that's not the first thing we're looking at is, blame the person, retrain the person, move on, right? We need to, what happened, because we have 470 or 450, however, 1,000 more people that might do that exact same thing. Yeah. So if we just keep saying retrain the employee, then guess what? we haven't actually fixed the problem.
Yeah. And how many employees are you putting through the funeral shock and awe process?
It's going to be everybody from a team. So our Joint Health and Safety Committee will go through, and everybody from a team leader on up to the top of the house, all the way to the president, will go through this training.
All your leaders.
Yes.
All your leaders within the organization from supervisor leader level up are going to be put through this process.
All of them. Yeah.
Absolutely revolutionary. I've never heard anything like it. Yeah. I've obviously heard, and I've done myself, you may go to jail if you do XYZ talk. You may deal with the family members. And of course you have the impactful, the HR manager that's had to make the call to a family member to say, there's been a fatality. But I've never in my 20 years heard of having a funeral, a confronting event potentially that, shock and awe. From the health and safety perspective, the health and wellness, I guess, for those employees that go through that process, I take it you have measures in place for those that experience shock or may end up with some sort of mental health, kind of issue from the attendance of the event.
Yes, we will. So that's been thought out ahead of time, because I've been through something similar that would trigger me. So I understand how people will react, and we will have something in place for that.
I like it, but it's very controversial.
Yes, I'm sure it will be.
I do like it for its impact, 100%. I really like it, but very controversial. Kudos to you and your organisation for kind of being a trailblazer and for wanting to create that immediate, because that would be an immediate change.
I'm hoping so. I just have a lot of people that they don't get there because they're so conditioned to the let's go after the employee, and the only way to teach them to protect the employee and to protect themselves, it's not just the employee. They need to protect themselves as a supervisor. So I need to show them the reality before the reality happens. You know what I mean? I would rather show them what's going to happen. I've had supervisors quit for life when something happens. Right? I don't want them to be that supervisor. I don't want them to go through that trauma. I've had to do trauma counseling to supervisors who've just witnessed a fatality. Right? I don't want them to have to go through that. I want them to understand what the impact is going to be before it happens. Right? So it's important.
And when is this happening? When is this event scheduled for?
Mid-December.
Or we don't know yet. Okay.
Mid-December.
It'd be interesting if I could touch base with you after it's happened to hear how it all went and what the feedback was like from it.
Maybe we can tape one for you. Maybe we can tape one and see how it goes.
Definitely. And what about if you could invent something to solve a health and safety issue other than this process that you've created, where expenditure and opinions didn't matter? What would you create and why?
Oh, this is a good one. I've been thinking about this one. As I listen to your podcast, I'm like, I know exactly what I want. I would literally want an AI type scanner that would detect human interaction on any piece of equipment, whether it be a forklift or a machine line, that as soon as somebody came into a danger zone, almost like a light curtains on steroids with AI involved, so that if somebody got close to a pinch point, to a catch point, to the forklift, that it would just shut down. Our cars are kind of doing that now. Why can't we have equipment that does that? Right? Like my car will stop me if I'm going to do something. It'll literally put the brakes on for me. So why can we not have equipment built like that would prevent people from getting caught or hit?
Yeah, kind of similar to what we have. I know in Australia we have for seat belts, for example, on forklifts. If your weight isn't placed on the seat and your seat belt isn't clicked into the receiver, and the forklift won't start. And I know there's different inventions for little bits of gear here and there, but there is definitely not AI as such that replaces all equipment with the ability to do that, which would be amazing, absolutely amazing. If you win the lottery, I look forward to hearing about the invention coming to fruition. That would be absolutely amazing, and the lives that would change from that human interaction piece with plant and equipment would be amazing.
Oh, I would love it. That would have eliminated most of the fatalities I've had to deal with. Just that. So
that's tough.
Yeah.
So those answers were obviously very insightful and very interesting, especially in regards to the funeral process. Now, obviously, we've talked about a few things, but you're going to be talking about, something positive for a change, which I'm excited about. And that's how fantastic your current organisation is when it comes to health and safety. And you are implementing some brilliant initiatives in general, and the work you're doing there to make a positive health and safety cultural change. Would you like to share your insights around that with our listeners?
Sure. I started about 6 months ago at a new company after being at another company for many, many years. And I was nervous about going. And I noticed that their motto, which was different for me, was I care. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this company a chance. And then I learned what I care meant. So I care for this company meant I'm going to look out for everybody on the floor. We're going to look after each other. We know that people work on autopilot. So a lot of the time when you're at work, you're thinking about something else. You do this job every day, especially if it's manufacturing. You're doing something repetitively. You're not thinking. You're thinking about what's for dinner, So when people have an incident, nobody has an incident because they want to get hurt. They're usually, focused on something else at the time. So the I care motto basically talks about looking after somebody when they're not focused in that moment, when they forgot to put their PPE on. So when I joined this company, they're just at the very start of a safety culture change. So about 2 years ago, they were bought by a Japanese company, and Japanese companies are known for their safety. And we have an amazing president, and I have an amazing boss, and lots of great people in the company who are, supportive of, changing the safety culture. So I thought, what a great chance to come in and change that safety culture and do some different things, and to have the support. I was mentioning it's like a playground. I get to go in and say, as a safety professional, I get to pretty much do whatever I want to make sure that these people are safe, and I have the support of my upper management, which is incredible.
That's amazing. Unfortunately, for the listeners that didn't hear the beginning of the interview, you are based in Canada. So for us to experience that joyfulness, we will need to move to Canada and get a role with your organisation.
Come on
and
over.
deal with all the weather and all the fantasticness that Canada has to offer. But it's so amazing to hear that they do exist. These unicorns of organisations do exist and do have the opportunities to provide and that positive health and safety change that's required.
I'm so excited. I literally am starting. So I was listening to your podcast and I heard about the learning teams, and that's something that I didn't have a name for it, but it was something I was looking at. So I'm super excited to try the learning teams.
That's great.
I want to use that for hazard recognition, obviously, and go out and use these learning teams and include the people on the floor who are doing the jobs and make sure that they're a big part of the solution. So I'm excited about that, because less, more chance to get buy-in when they're part of the solution. We're going to do things like we're automating like our SDS system, so you can look it up online using a QR code. So to roll that out, we're going to have a scavenger hunt. So people are going to go out there and find chemicals, and they're going to prove they know how to use the system, right? So we're going to have a scavenger hunt, and We're going to use a lot of games and experiential training for people so that Safety Week was one of them. We had them experience some things before they got learning so that they, were more able to take that learning and understand it and be open to it. Those are just some of the things that we're doing. Short list.
That's so amazing. I'm so happy for you. Whilst I don't know you, in person, I'm so happy that another professional gets to have that fulfillment that we all kind of seek in our careers, whether it be early on or, further down the track, that, the uni grad, the, safety professional who's just done their qualifications and hasn't had that site kind of experience can now kind of go, well, actually, it does happen. Obviously, like I said, you may have to seek, far and wide for it. And unfortunately, as we spoke about earlier, you do have to go through some bad apples to get to that nice, juicy red one that provides you with what you need and the sustenance that you need to be happy and fulfilled personally and professionally at the same time. But yeah, it's so exciting to hear. And I can't wait to hear more about, what changes are made and how they are taken on and the positive things that are going to come out of your organisation. Maybe make the news globally. Who knows? We might hear about it in Australia.
I would, I'm wondering if this podcast would be great to have people listen to that are struggling with their companies. Mm-hmm. Maybe if they take this to their management and say, here's, what could be. Maybe it will help change some of those companies that are slower coming along. I think people don't understand the benefit of having a good or a great safety culture. Forget good. A great safety culture is it's good for quality. It's good for production. I mean, all those other things happen when you have a great safety culture. And I think that's an important message.
Yeah. I completely and totally agree with that it's not separate. It's something that drives every other branch of your business if it's going the way it needs to be. So I just think the insights, the knowledge and the experience obviously that you've shared with me and our listeners, I know for certain they will have gained great value in listening to that. So thank you so much for doing that and for spending time with me at your very early morning kind of time frame and my nighttime time frame. I 100% appreciate it.
I wanted to say to you too, Georgina, I think your podcasts are fabulous and they're inspiring. So thank you.
Aww, thank you. That's great. Nice to hear kind words. So thanks again, Joanne.
No problem. Thanks, Georgina.
Well, what did you think about Joanne's initiatives? Hopefully it has left you all with some food for thought and also some hope, especially if you're in an organisation like Joanne said, that just feels like you're treading water or perhaps drowning. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and as my husband likes to say, it's not a coal train. You should know there is also support networks out there for you as a safety professional, and if you cannot find them or feel like you're not getting anywhere, then please feel free to reach out directly to myself and I will do what I can to provide you with the guidance and the support you need. So, that brings us to the end of another episode. Until next time, stay safe.